What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, it's just BJ, and I'm back with another video. It's spooky time, man. I'm back with the series, The Darkest Moments in TV History, Part 3. Is it? Yeah, Part 3. And this one is called Kenji Naga. We're gonna get into it just like that, man. Enjoy the video.
September 27th, 2007, cameras document an unfolding protest in Yangon, Myanmar, as thousands of people take to the streets to express their displeasure with their government. The demonstration was part of an emerging struggle later known as the Saffron Revolution, with tensions having risen in the month prior, when the government made the decision to remove subsidies on the price of gasoline, thus causing gas prices to inflate overnight by over 60%, throwing the economy into instant turmoil. In response, this Saffron Revolution began, which was largely spearheaded by the monks of the region, who all preached a peaceful protest, believing that the government would soon come to its senses when they saw that their citizens were unified against them. However, the government showed no signs of letting up. In fact, on this day, they had actually begun taking offensive measures, going as far as to arrest hundreds of monks in response to their picketing. For the residents, this display was shocking, as they struggled to understand how their own government could jail these religious figures. But they had no idea just how much crueler they could get. As the demonstrators marched in the street that day, a line of officers announced that they had 10 minutes to go home or else they would face dire punishment. But the crowd refused to back down, being intent on marching on to let the world know just how serious they were. And with neither side willing to budge, the officers began to fire their weapons, first into the air as a warning, and then directly at the protesters. It was a massacre, with the official death toll being 10 innocent civilians, while others on—
They shot him?
It was a massacre, with the official death toll being 10 innocent civilians, while others on site that day posited that the number was likely much higher. The footage is disturbing on its own, but there was another layer to this ordeal, one unexpected variable. A man named Kenji Naga. Naga was a journalist from Japan with a lengthy track record of reporting on situations in dangerous, even war-torn countries, building up an impressive resume in the journalism community. And during the Saffron Revolution, he was visiting the region with his camera to document the events firsthand, as he had done with so many conflicts before. Yet despite having so-called special protection due to his journalist status, Kenji never made it back home, with Myanmar officials reporting that he had accidentally been struck in the chest by a stray bullet, making him the only foreign casualty in this ordeal.
Damn.
The revelation was obviously heartbreaking for his family and for the entire country of Japan, who strongly condemned the slaying of Kenji as well as the slaying of the other protesters. But still, officials in Myanmar asserted that this was all just an unfortunate accident, a classic case of a man being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But this was only the beginning of the story. Days later, the Japanese media would receive a video recording of the bloodshed that occurred on that notorious day, when the streets of Yangon turned into a one-sided battlefield, and the contents were alarming to say the least. 逃げ惑う群衆を追いかけるように響き渡る数発の銃声。この時カメラは倒れ込む半ズボン姿の男性。
Y'all, I gotta really learn, like, I want to learn some Japanese, you know what I'm saying? Cause, wait, I don't know if it's Japanese or not. It looks like Japanese, but I gotta really learn Japanese, man. Cause honestly, I want to be able to go out to foreign country and to Japan, especially, to be exact, and be able to understand some of what they saying. Just not to go out there, just to go out there. Like, I want to learn what they saying, if you feel what I'm saying. But yeah, let's get back to it. The footage shows a crowd of people desperately running for their lives,
when in the corner of the frame you can see a man dressed in white, holding a camera as he falls to the ground. It was Kenji Nagai, and he hadn't tripped or even been shot at this point, but instead, he was seen being pushed by a soldier who now pointed his weapon at the man who was now lying helplessly on the ground, and fired a shot directly into his chest, leaving him there to die. Following this, a separate photographer on the scene managed to capture an image of Kenji moments after the attack, and in the photo, Nagai was still holding onto his camera, documenting the carnage around him, as he laid there bleeding to death, having taken a bullet directly into his heart. The revelation was shocking for a few reasons. Most obviously, it disproved the initial claims that Kenji Nagai had been shot by a stray bullet, as this was clearly and quite literally an execution, but it also showed the entire world these harrowing yet inspiring images of a fearless, passionate journalist who continued documenting the battle around him, even as the life left his body, with his corpse being shown minutes later still holding on to that camera. Which leaves us with one burning question: what happened to that camera? Kenji Nagai had quite literally given his life to capture the images on that device, and with the man being so close to the action, it was likely that whatever was on that camera was incredible, and perhaps even showed his execution up close, which could give more details about how exactly his passing came to be. Yet when his body was returned back to his family in Japan, that camera was nowhere to be found, despite it being in his hands when he passed. Had it been left behind? Was it destroyed?
They gotta get their hands on that camera ASAP.
In the carnage? Well, it wouldn't take long for these two questions to be answered, as more footage of the event would soon emerge, again on Japanese television. The clip appeared to show one of the soldiers responsible for Kenji's death going in and physically prying the camera from the dead man's hand, and from that point on, it had never been seen again. And with that, one of the most unique lost media searches of all time was underway. And this wasn't an example of lost media that's better off staying lost either, as Kenji's own family was desperate to get this camera back in order to showcase his final images to the world. And so they put out various requests, pleas, and even started a petition begging the government of Myanmar to turn the camera over, assuming that they were the ones who held it in their possession. Though despite the immense
they killed that man. He had his own camera and he filmed his execution, and they killed that man and took his camera. That ain't right. That ain't right at all. That ain't right at all, man.
Pressure throughout the years, nothing ever came of their pleas. In fact, not only did the Myanmar government refuse to give it up, but they continued to assert that Kenji's death was nothing more than an innocent accident. And for many years it would remain this way, until out of nowhere, a full decade and a half later,
they found it? They returned the camera? No way they found the camera. Where did it come from? Wait, hold up. This guy interesting as hell, bro. What the hell?
A press conference was held with the family of Kenji Nagai as the camera was finally returned to their possession. The story of how this camera got back to them is almost entirely a mystery. A group called the Democratic Voice of Burma was involved in some capacity, though they credited an unnamed individual as the catalyst behind its recovery, with many believing that this person had likely stolen the camera from the government and smuggled it out of Myanmar. But aside from the speculation, no further information was provided, which was probably done to ensure the safety of the individual involved. And despite having no confirmation as to where this camera had actually been, the family finally had it in their possession after 15 long years. And they've actually gone on to release bits and pieces of the footage from that day to the media, which finally gives us a look into some of Kenji's final moments. Moments after pointing out the military that had moved in to quell the protest, Kenji was executed by one of those very soldiers.
That's terrible.
It's unclear how much more footage was actually on that camera, but for the time being, this is all that's been released to the public, and it's likely to remain that way forever. Today, his family hopes that this footage will help highlight the fact that the problems in Myanmar are actually still very prevalent, with the civil unrest continuing to lead to the deaths of hundreds, even thousands of people per year. As for many of the citizens, the battle rages on. Though in a somewhat poetic fashion, the recovery of Kenji's camera actually brought the situation back into the news cycle, meaning that even after his death, Kenji Nagai continues to make a difference.
That's crazy, y'all. That's crazy. That was part 3 of darkest moments in TV history. Let me know if y'all want to see this again. Sorry that I've been, delaying this series. I'm actually moving out, as you can see. I got a lot of stuff that I done packed up. I think this is gonna be my last video of this series in this room. Things will be changed shortly, soon. Just stay tuned. I'll catch you later.